Welcome, everybody. This is Rick DiClemente with Astrology Unplugged. It's nice to have you join us tonight. Our show is usually cover many different parts of astrology, and I like to break it up about once a month and have these different guests on that really open our eyes to so many different fields. And as you know, the United States and the world is changing dramatically, and tonight we have a wonderful guest, the Rev Tod Foster, who is mainly a Reiki Master, but many other things. But before we get to Todd, I wanted to bring you up on a couple things because some things are happening and I don't want to gloss over them, and it would be very remiss of me to skip over this partial solar eclipse tonight. It is over the island of Tasmania in New Zealand, so that's why you're not hearing about it. It's a massive eclipse. And it's the one date, when I forecasted 2018, I wrote down watch July 17th. Is that today? No, I don't want that. Anyhow, I wrote down today's date. Okay, the reason why it's such a big deal, I'm going to show you right now, okay, on the Zodiac. Hello, Kevin Fondelier. I've never seen you before. Welcome to the group. And hello, Jamie. Everybody's welcome. Now let me go to the screen and I will show you what I'm talking about. Okay, here it is. All right. Now you saw this, some of you, on my Facebook feed today. It's a very simple story. It's a very long story, but let's show you what's going on. Most of the time when you see the sun and moon together, that's a new moon. Occasionally, twice a year or 3 times a year, it becomes an eclipse. That's not the story. The story is these newspapers and most astrologers don't point out the significant part of what's going on, and that is what planets are lined up with the eclipse. And right, it's happening tonight about 11:30 Eastern, and right across from the sun and moon, which are eclipsing, sits 20 degrees Pluto. There's the story. The story of the last 10 years has been Pluto. So Pluto's spending 15 years going through Capricorn. It's gone from 0 to 20. It's been sitting at 20. What is Pluto been doing? Digging up, finding dirt, finding nothing. Finding dirt, finding nothing. It's like this. It's a period of intense possibilities. But what has it been doing since 2008? Digging up corruption. Now, corruption can mean money. It can mean under the table in the Congress. It can be your own personal corruption. And in personal matters, it has to do with character. What have you done to sway away from your character in businesses? Almost all businesses that are hurting now are hurting because of one reason, and that's because they have drifted away from their mission statement, including the US of A. So the Pluto has been sitting there working like an acid on everybody. Every dog, every person, every car, every business, all the countries. It's been working on everybody's chart. 0 degrees, 1 degree, 2 degrees. Now it's over at 20. It's sitting there at 20. And when the planet's by itself, it's not too troublesome. It's when Mars comes around and hits it, or the sun and moon come around and hit it, that it makes spikes in these activities. Well, today the eclipse is hitting it. This is why the president made an ass out of our country yesterday by insulting the rest of the world. And he thinks it's just one of these sad games he's playing. Oh, I'll change my tune today. He doesn't realize what he did, but this was permanent damage. He made us look bad, and they don't trust us. And they're worried about us because they're saying, what is wrong with you? Forget Trump. They're saying, what's wrong with you guys? You say you don't like him? You got the powerful Constitution? Why aren't you stopping him? I've been warning about this since 2005. Liza and I have been writing about this. And it's all got to do with treating people the same. I watched a news shot last night, and the woman said, they asked the woman, well, don't you think Trump was being rude to these people? She said, he wasn't rude. We're America. We can do what we want. You can see the poison there. That's the whole story. But what's going on in America is we got these laurels that we rest on from 1945. Thank God we won the war, but we think we're special. We got 700 bases around the world, and the next number 2 country has 12. Why do you think Americans don't have health insurance? Because we're paying for the damn military. There's your story. Don't get me started. So with your personal life tonight, Pluto's been grinding away at you, whatever house it's in. So that's why you've had boyfriends reappear, girlfriends reappear, illnesses reappear. You've been having progress, and I told you all along with Pluto, the number 1 thing you got to do is dig out your basement, clean up your act, clean up your stuff, clean up your act. So I'm going to get on with it because we have a wonderful guest, and I want to maximize his time, but I didn't want you to miss what's happening. Now, I'm going to show you the graphic because it's going to help me here. Let's see. Okay. I met Todd about 13 years ago, and Todd has a wonderful Reiki studio. Now he's got 2. These are his particulars. And for quite a few years, I was doing astrology lectures and talks and discussions. So Todd and I worked out nice arrangements, and he was nice enough to let me do those talks there and do some readings there, which worked out pretty well. And I will share that with you throughout the evening. But anyhow, during that time, I didn't know a lot about Reiki, and I'm sure Todd has trained hundreds of people. Todd does much, much more than just Reiki. And Todd is an expert with the pendulum. He makes the thing dance. Now, I would like you to talk some tonight, Todd, about some of these other things that you have on your resume. I don't have it at the moment, such as soul relief, soul retrieval, etc., etc. But anyhow, hi, Karen. It's wonderful to have you with us, Todd, and welcome to Astrology Unplugged.
Well, thank you, Rick. Thank you so much for having me on your show, and hello, everyone. I love the energy of this group. I know that we're not here in person, but we are connected. Technology is fantastic in that way because you look at the computer chips that are all in our devices, so it magnifies and intensifies the energy, and so we can connect through our devices such as we are right now. So I love the energy in this group. A lot of playful energy too. Is what
yeah, we play a lot. That's good. Todd, I'm so glad to have you, and many of the people here know you, have had appointments with you. I want to tell the group one more thing before we get started. Todd's what's very special. I told you in that book back there that if you got a Virgo to hire the Virgo. Why? Because they go above and beyond. We just moved into a house that needed a lot of recovery, and we moved in, and there was a questionable energies there, and Todd couldn't get to me because he was really busy somewhere else, and Todd cleared the house from far distance away. Didn't even matter to the distance, but what impressed me, he called me back 3 weeks later after the house was cleared. He called me back 3 weeks later because he was concerned about this and that. Was this done? Was this thoroughly done? He's a man of his word, and I really respected that he did that. So I really honor his abilities and his straightforwardness. He's got lots of Virgo in him, which means he's really skilled. I think we'll start the evening off because we've heard of Reiki all around the world. There's so much Reiki going on everywhere. Could you give us a little intro to what it is, why it's going crazy, why it's in hospitals, why people are attracted to it, etc., etc.?
Sure, Rick. Yes, I'd be happy to talk about that. It is interesting because I've been doing Reiki probably for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, when I came to Pittsburgh back in 2004, 5 years prior to that, I was told Reiki was whispered about in the closets in the metaphysical field. So it wasn't even really out back there. Matter of fact, my center was the first and only initially holistic health center. There was nobody, everybody else was a bookstore, not a physical bookstore that was making their money simply, well, not simply, but working hard selling books and items like crystal stones, things like that.
Readers.
And yeah, readers and things like that. I didn't go that route. Mine was simply just based on my service, as well as offering classes and things like that. So I'm excited just in the day and age how much it has progressed. It is on TV all the time. Many people, thanks to Dr. Oz, his wife is a Reiki Master teacher, and he's talked about that and many other things. But it's, to me, Reiki is kind of old news. It's no longer, I don't know, what's the word? It's the basics. It's a fundamental step in healing that everybody, I feel everybody needs to know how to do, at least level 1 and 2, okay? But there are many more techniques as we evolve in our awareness, our consciousness, as the energies change. We have new or old modalities that come up for us to work to take us further. And Reiki will always be a fundamental staple, but there's much more you can do. So just the basics about Reiki is, for those that are not aware, it is a Japanese system, healing. It helps to manage the effects of stress on the body, and produces a state of relaxation, in which we know that if we can bring the body back into state of balance, it will heal itself. So the thing that drew me into Reiki many, many years ago, like I always cringe to say, over 25 years, it's really closer to 30 because it doesn't feel that way. I was introduced, I was drawn to it like a moth to a flame. I know that I was attuned to Reiki in past lives. That's why when I first went before my instructor in my initial training, my level 1, this woman carries a lot of Buddhist energy, and not the nice type, the very rigid, hard, stern type. And I got pushed from my spirit guide to get up and demonstrate hand positions. At the time, I think, I don't remember, 13 of them. I got up and I ran through that like I was in my sleep. It was so easy. And I didn't get very many nice stares, though, from my peers, because I made it look so easy. And she said that was absolutely perfect. It put pressure on them, which was not my intention. But it said to me, that I had done this so much, this was child's play. And I knew I'd be a Reiki Master teacher in no time at all. That was just something I was destined to do. And I love it because it's working on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. Big bang for your buck. Okay, I always go for what can give me the most, or what modalities have the most flexibility or work and complement other modalities. And Reiki does fit into that, and still does to this day. So often, we see that, when it's at the ad that says "Got Milk," I have to put it back on. I've got to find it because the vehicle's changed. But I had a license plate holder that says "Got Reiki," and I really feel that. I feel it is, if somebody has Reiki, there is nothing that they can't handle and do. And that's why I'm a big proponent for people having up to level 2. They don't have to have master, but they need to have level 1 and 2. And my philosophy and belief, and it still is to this day, is that, for example, children and senior citizens, you need the elderly, they need level 1. Okay. Level 2 is for teens and above, because they need more than the basics. They need to know really how to work on a emotional, distant, and spiritual level as well. So that's just Reiki in a nutshell. I love how it blends with so many other different modalities. And I just feel it was really the fundamental place to start with healing. So if you're not attuned to Reiki or familiar, I'd encourage everybody to learn to take that initial step. In order to do so, you want to work with a Reiki Master teacher who is certified, and they will take you through the process in your class, which will include a sacred ritual, or what we call an attunement, which will open up the chakra system so that you can bring in this universal spiritually guided life force. And Rei means universal or spiritually guided life force. One of the things I want to mention, though, when you're working with a practitioner, everybody on here is empathic. And I'll dive into that a little bit more, but trust your gift of discernment. In Christianity, we call the ability to read energy as discernment, okay? One of the things that disturbs me about how Reiki's taught has been, I don't know that it still is, but predominantly a lot of teachers teach right from the book, and the emphasis is on hand placements. Hand placements have nothing to do with Reiki whatsoever. Reiki was done with no hand placements. Sensei Usui, who was the one that rebrought Reiki back in the early 1920s back into resurgence, because it was a lost art on this planet. And he had a metaphysical experience, and it was brought back through him. He didn't even teach levels. It was a person that he trained, Dr. Hiyashi, who was a naval officer in the Japanese Navy, and he broke it down into the 3 systems or levels that we currently have. But what's happened is that people believe that hand placements are so important, and I'm going to tell you that's not true at all. Hand placements have nothing to do with it. If you understand how Reiki works, you could have a migraine, and I could be touching the bottom of your foot, and we could be having a conversation, and the migraine would go away. Because this is spiritually guided. It's God's wisdom working through the facilitator to bring balance back into you. And the facilitator's job is to pay attention to that energy and to communicate what is going on. Why are you having migraines? Why is it that you're ignoring what's in your heart, in your gut, and you're overanalyzing things and trying to compensate by going into the mind, right, and not paying attention to what's in your heart, okay? That's really what it is. What is the message? So when I work with students, I really, I give them the fundamentals with the hand placements, and I watch that, and I said, but you can have your book open. I don't care, what you do with clients or yourself. You can have your book open, no difference. But pay attention. Use your intuition. Feel, what is this energy? What does it mean to you? What's coming up? And I work with my students really to trust what they get. It's little pieces. I say that intuition is like a jigsaw puzzle. And it's really frustrating at first, but you're given a little tiny piece. And you got to start somewhere. You got to find another piece that will match. And that takes patience and practice. But once you do, so initially that first piece may not mean anything to you. Okay? But you got to trust faith by speaking up and sharing that information with the person that you're working with. And then if you do so, then you'll be guided to a second piece to work with.
All right, so, I got a couple quick questions about Reiki. I got many, I'm going to reduce it to 2. I told your group, I think a week or 2 ago, I went to a friend here in Pittsburgh, a very powerful Reiki person. This was 12 years ago, and I had a headache. And he bowed down, and he worked on my feet and put his hands on my shoulders, and I was sitting in a chair. And when he was all done, I felt a little bit better. And, I got a strong background, a broad background, and a little bit of this and that. But I didn't know much about Reiki. And at the time, I didn't take it too seriously because I didn't have enough experience. But when I left his house and I drove home, the only way I can say it is I felt God or higher self or somebody enter my head. It was just like those movies you see where another entity comes in and fills your head. And I felt it come in, and I was just stunned. And the little Rick went over here and watched it for a while. And it felt like this major other Rick, who's really big, came in and took over, and all was fine. To me, the good thing is I knew enough that I recognized something was happening. I'd never expected that. But to me, what he had done was he opened up the crown chakra somehow. Can you speak to what could have happened then?
Yeah, it's really easy. People think that they're whatever they're going to experience during a Reiki session happens during that time frame. Not true at all. Matter of fact, I tell my clients that to pay attention, especially if they're experiencing pain. I always use the typical mode of a scale 1 to 10 to rate before and then after a session. Then I tell them, look, watch what happens within the next hour, 3 hours, the next day, and see what happens. Matter of fact, one guy who was rather skeptical, he had a problem. His wife was a regular client of mine. He came in, and we knew each other socially because we were in Cub Scouts at the time, our boys were, and he was experiencing some pain, and I worked on him, and I told him that, and he's like, okay, you know, whatever. Well, later, it turns out the next day or two, I was out shopping, getting some groceries, and somebody started screaming my name across the parking lot, and I turn around, and it's this gentleman. He says, I gotta tell you, I didn't believe you when you told me, but you were right. Within hours, that pain was completely gone. So when what you experienced, Rick, was the Reiki energy still working with you and through you. Matter of fact, I tell my clients this energy will process and continue to work through you for the next.
What happened? How can you explain what it was?
It's the impression that I get is that there was a shift in consciousness, okay, that came through with that energy. Did he open, I would say, brought more balance to the crown?
He didn't say any words at all.
Right.
He may have I think he put his hands above me.
Right.
He was trying to work on the headache, and then probably 10 minutes down the road, it just happened.
Yeah. The energy will take care of itself. It will create balance in whatever needed. And I believe that really what happened with you, what I feel around that, is that there was a shift in awareness.
Okay.
All right. Felt a bigger presence.
Yeah, that's what it felt. Yeah.
And so whatever was going on in your life, you were looking at it from a limited, small view. And Spirit went in and opened you up to a bigger view.
My mind said, I want it, whatever this is. Second question, I know you can't go into great detail, but in general, I think we're curious about this. Without giving away the company's secrets, what are the Reiki symbols? What does that mean?
Okay. So this is a subject I love to talk about, but it's kind of training wheels.
Yeah, I understand.
You don't need symbols.
What are they?
You have, somebody's going through and drawing them and everything, yes. So we have what's referred to as a power symbol, okay? And that one is the magnifier. And that magnifies the energy. The interesting thing that some people may not know is if you draw that symbol backwards, instead of magnifying, it reverses it. It takes energy out. Okay,
so there's symbols that you can manipulate the energy with.
Exactly. Well, it's a communication tool. And the thing that I want to get away from this is that if we're working with God, do we really know what's needed more so than God? Okay, so to me, the symbols really kind of make you feel like you've got control. It comes from the ego.
And you don't, right.
And you don't need it. And it also goes to, part of this, I believe Mrs. Takata, who brought it back into the U.S., and God bless her for doing so, she was a very manipulative person, if you ask me. She was smart, and she had to do it because nobody would want to learn from somebody from her origins because of the bombing of Pearl Harbor at the time too, okay? But she wanted to pass this gift along. So she actually, we know for a fact, she trained people and had them draw the same power symbol multiple different ways, okay? It's intention that matters, okay?
I would say
maybe we're working with a part of the body that's overstimulated, over-energized, and we're feeling like I'm feeling like we need to take energy out. You may be guided to redraw the power symbol reverse.
Okay, now we can work on all this stuff like crazy, and there's so much to cover here. I want to get down to the meat of the talk. Tonight's eclipse it's in Cancer. So that means primarily It's about showing people how to take care of themselves better emotionally. You got to take care of your emotional state. Now, since Pluto's involved, and since the country is a Cancer, and since so many people are healers here, et cetera, this is a two-part question. What can you do to help explain what everybody's going through all around the world that I've been talking with you about since '05, that really got triggered in '08, about all this stuff resurfacing and all these toxins coming to the surface? And secondly, what can you help the healers here know more about, giving them the advantage of taking the shortcuts you've learned? How do you stand as a teacher right now, teacher of teachers? What do you have to say?
Okay, let me make sure I can answer your question, and please let me know whether I hit it or if I missed it or somehow side-skirted it. As far as what's been going on, as you described, since '05, and I think it's really been going on a lot longer,
That's
or just
right.
being different depth of it is we are all going through an ascension process. Our shift in consciousness has been changing. So, for an example, when we're all very familiar with the Mayan calendar and how that ended in December 21st or 2nd of 2012.
Right.
What was interesting is I work with people, I'm always measuring their aura before and after a session. And I teach them how to center their energy first and foremost to correct it. And people used to come to me and they'd be about, maybe 3 or 4 inches. I mean, they were really on life support system. And I'd go through and balance them. They'd be several yards afterwards, which was great. But as we moved into late 2010, 2011, I noticed that the energy fields were beginning to expand for people, which I was told was a correlation between consciousness beginning to shift. Okay. And now I love it because we're several years past the Mayan calendar and in new energies, which, as Rick is showing, what's happening with planetary wise, we're having so much more of this darkness, this massive healing that's taking place for us, okay? And bringing everything, all the toxins, all the stuff that we tried to hide from the light to be brought into the light and to be transmuted or released is what's happening. And that helps us to shift into our states of consciousness. As I work with people now, they'll come in, they'll have a 5 foot to 8 foot aura just to start with. When I'm done, it's absolutely massive. And then I have to teach people how to work with that energy field there. And that's really what I want to go a little bit more into tonight, and especially if a lot of people are already healers. But Rick, it all has to do with our shifting of our consciousness. And as far as what can we do as far as healers, I want to bring this to point here because I took time. I had about an hour before this program, and I went for a walk and just connected in to kind of see what guidance came through for the group tonight. So for some of you, you may have even experienced like somebody was kind of connecting with you on some level at a distance.
I did.
I definitely was. Okay. I definitely was. It's nothing. It's very easy to do. It's elementary. And I can share more with that. Intention is everything in our lives. Intention is everything. So I connected in, and the first presence that I got that came around that I was supposed to really speak about balance. And I was going to ask Rick, and I knew Rick would hit upon this. And I think that really what's going on with this eclipse, because I know very little about astrology. Like when I need to understand stuff like that, I go to Rick. I don't really understand it as well. I mean, and he is able to talk me through it and help me to understand it better. But this has a lot to do with right now what I'm feeling with the energy, and everybody's talking about feeling all out of sorts, okay? And it's a very powerful energy, is balance. It's time to go into finding our space of balance and centeredness. And what does that mean for each of us? We may have a certain practice, and I'd love for people to share with that when we open that up on there. But I have many different tools that I'll use for balancing. I will share two tonight I want to share with you that are really super simple, okay? And I always go for things that are powerful and simple and duplicable, and I teach them all to my clients. One of my quick go-to is actually using an essential oil. All right, I love essential oils because they're working on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. Whether you know it or not makes no difference, but they work. They're powerful. And so I use an oil it's a blend called Balance. I actually have it diffusing in my home right now because that was the theme. And I think that right now we're in a state where we need to bring things up, but in order for us to heal, we've got to find our equilibrium. We've got to find that space of balance in our lives. We have to be able to admit where we've been out of character or out of, what's the word that I used before? Integrity. There are times when I have felt pressured and I've done something to please somebody else, and who here is not a people pleaser at that, okay? And I later regretted it and I realized, I stepped out of that place of integrity or balance for me. And I was like, at least now I know I did. I know I didn't like that feeling, and I'm not going to do that again. That type of thing. So I like to use an essential oil referred to as Balance, and I use it topically and aromatically. So just to work, because I knew that the frequencies, that there were going to be very many gifted, whether they were conscious or not, didn't matter. I could just tell the energy of the group. And I thought, okay, I need to make sure that I'm still grounded too. Okay. So I use that. And I also want to share something with this for all of you. I want to this would be a little gift. All my clients go through this. Are there any dowsers on here? If you would raise your hand and hold them up for a moment so I can scan through.
Amy.
Okay.
Healthy.
Okay. Let's see here. Great. Okay. All right. So one of the things, if you're a dowser and you are a healer or you like to dowse, you should check the aura front, back, left, and right. You will always find that a person is carrying their energy behind them if they're stuck with issues in the past, or you'll find that people that suffer from anxiety and depression, they're anxious, they're going to carry their energy forward because they don't feel the world is a safe place. So I always know those people that are coming in that way because I can feel their presence before they get to my door. They're probably in the parking lot because the door is not that big, but I can sense them. And sure enough, when I go to measure and plus the questions, I see that they're suffering from anxiety and depression, which is widespread. And we've got doctors who are basically drug pushers with a license because they're giving out drugs that they have no business administering to people without mental health counseling. I think that's criminal, and I would love that to see that change, but I won't get on my soapbox about that. Anyways, so if you're down,
you got to lift that of Karen down there. I saw her.
If you're carrying your energy too far to the left or right of your field, that means that you're either overcompensating, overworking with the masculine, leading with the masculine or feminine energy as well. And neither, we want to find this balance. So we want the back and front to be centered equally. So if that's 15 feet, 15 yards, whatever, in front and behind, that's what we want. Same thing with left and right, and vertical, up and below as well. Up and below is a little harder to measure. So anyways, for the dowsers out there, do keep that in mind, and you can dowse that even with a chart on somebody. All right, what I'd like to do, and I'm glad everybody's muted because I had a note here to ask Rick to do so. If you would like to participate, I'm going to give you an exercise, and we're going to set the subconscious mind. We're going to put a program into your subconscious mind that whenever you touch your thumb and your middle finger, and as you inhale, you think or say the word center, you'll be centered. Okay? If you are a client of mine, you've gone through this process, you can do this download. It won't hurt you. But this download will be with you in your subconscious mind, period. Okay? It's and what I'll suggest for the group is centering yourself at least 12 times a day. So what I tell my clients is to take your smartphone and put a little reminder and have it go off once every 20 minutes for 4 hours. That, and you can adjust that differently if you want, but at least that's going to get you to center yourself. And what you're going to find is you're going to notice, wait, I feel different. Okay, you're going to start to realize when you're not centered, when you're not in the present moment, and that's part of being balanced.
How do you center by doing that?
It's in the program. You'll see it as we go through and we do the work. Okay, so I'm actually going to, as connected in, we're going to just go through. And now everybody on this should be muted. It looks like everybody's muted. And all that I want you to do, and I'm going to demonstrate it first, so you don't have to do anything but observe, okay? And then I'll ask you to participate if you choose to. If you choose not to, that's fine. Trust whatever feels good to you, okay? But it will go like this. You'll pick a term that represents that which is greater than yourself, whether that's divine spirit, almighty God, Buddha, whatever it may be, that's fine. But it's got to be that presence which is greater than yourself. So in my case, I like to use the the word divine spirit or source. That's what represents for me. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate it, and then we'll do it together in just a moment. So just watch me. So it'll go like this. So by the power and authority of divine spirit, my very divine I am presence, I now command and give full permission to program into my subconscious mind that whenever I touch my thumb and center finger and take a deep breath and say or think the word center, my system will center like it is right now. This means setting proper polarity on all parts of the vertical axis, proper polarity on the left to right axis, and proper polarity on the front to back axis so the energies fields are centered. So be it done. You'll then take 3 nice deep breaths. And then you're going to take a 4th deep breath. And on the 4th deep breath, as you inhale, think or say the word center. And just notice how that feels. Is there a difference in your energy? Okay. This is going to help you to get into that state of being the here and now and finding a space of balance. The reason for the first deep breath is the first one is to allow the body to know a change is about to take place. The second one makes that change all the way down to the cellular level. And the 3rd deep breath seals that change in. The 4th deep breath activates the program. Okay, it doesn't matter if you do one or both hands, you can do that. I use this a lot when I'm driving. Driving, especially in the city, throws me out of my space of centered, especially if I am late and trying to find a parking spot or find a place that I'm not familiar with. I can tell, so I will use that quite a bit while I'm driving. Also, if I'm out and having conversations with people and they may say something that really just kind of pushes my buttons, I just simply, with my hand under the table, center myself, collect myself, and then go from that moment. Okay, it makes it real easy. All right, so if you are ready, you're going to use whatever term you prefer to use, that which helps you connect with that which is greater than yourself. Okay, and when we get to the comments, I'll definitely want to see how people are feeling there. Okay, so if you will, just repeat after me. By the power and authority of divine spirit and my very divine I am presence, I now command and give full permission to program into my subconscious mind that whenever I touch my thumb and middle finger, take a deep breath, and say or think the word center, my system is centered like it is right now. This means setting proper polarity on the vertical axis, proper polarity on the left to right axis, and proper polarity on the front to back axis, so the energy field is centered. So be it done now. Take 3 nice deep breaths. When you're ready, take your 4th deep breath and think the word center as you inhale. Rick, would you mind unmuting everybody for just a moment?
Okay.
Okay, great. How can somebody tell me if they're feeling a shift or how you're feeling now? What are you aware of?
Being centered.
Does being centered feel different than what you were feeling before?
I try to feel that way all the time.
Okay.
But yes, a little bit, yes.
I've been feeling sick and very uncentered, and I could feel it immediately as soon as we went into the exercise. So thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Karen, looks like you felt something, huh?
Well, I have had a really rough last 4 days because I'm moving from one place to another, and if you want to get uncentered, try sleeping in one environment and move into a different environment and all that. So when we went through it, he hadn't even finished, and I started feeling calmness.
Now you know what it's like to work, how to work with a Virgo, huh? They do the right, the right thing, not exactly lined up.
Karen,
Karen's a very talented healer, Todd.
I can see in her energy and everything, but you just moved into a new space, correct?
I've been going back and forth, so yeah. I've been more here than the other space.
Okay, is this a home you mean? A new home? Okay, and how are you feeling? How are you feeling in the new space, though?
The old home is the problem.
Now that's where, thank you. I couldn't tell if it was the old or the new, but I'm like, okay, we need some clearing in the home there. Okay. I'm feeling a little bit, there's some things you can do in your new space. Now, are you're trying to sell the old home now or not?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, okay.
I'm trying to get out of it so I can get rid of it.
All right. So, Karen, if you will contact me after my email, I think Rick put up, it's rev.tod at
it's on the screen. I put it on the screen for you.
Great. Thank you. If you will email
me. He just cleared my house. I recommend it.
I'd like to do a little work with you on that, just because they brought that energy forward with you, and it's like, okay, that's your team. Like, she needs to be, I think you're already aware of that, but it's just.
I have been. In fact, I meant to bring some sage back with me this time to do some burning in both places.
Okay. I feel why that energy needs to be cleared is to really make a smooth transition so that the house can have new occupants, because it's a wounded house.
Very.
Is what it feels like.
It's a very wounded house, and it was incredibly wounded before we ever moved in.
Yeah, and what's so funny, of course, it brought a healer into the home.
No, he's very good at this.
But one of the things, though, Karen, is that home was draining you.
Yes.
Okay, and with that, this is all, everybody here. I'm a little distracted. Okay, there we go. Everybody here is an empath, and that's one of the things that I've been working with. I could talk another hour about empathic abilities, but I want to just point out for everybody, some of us Empathy has just been a way of life. We've been very sensitive to energies. Empathics are natural healers. We're born that way. We're considered very sensitive. If you're a man and you're an empath, oh my gosh, it's even more intense because wimpy or too feminine. If you cry at movies and things, I've always been like that. I have a very yin yang energy. I swear if I were to change my appearance, I might look more androgynous instead, because I have both feminine and masculine energy, and I rely so much on both of them to navigate. But embrace your empathic abilities. Matter of fact, what's happening now, and I'm actually developing a program, and we'll be writing a book on this, because all my clients are empaths and they don't know it. And I have to go through and teach them how it's a beautiful gift, because so many people feel it's a curse. And those people who are experiencing anxiety and depression are often the more sensitive empaths. But if you learn how to work with that energy, and what a blessing. I've actually learned in my other part of my job, I have a large team I work with, and I learned to use my empathic abilities to connect not only with my customers and my clients, but also those people that I rely on who are leading other parts of my team. So I can go right to the heart of the issue and focus in on that. And that's why, like for Karen, I couldn't help it. As she was just commenting about the centering exercise, what did I do? I naturally went in about not only her energy, but what was going on with who, the place that she either moved from or was moving into. So it's really important for us to learn to work with our gifts of empathy. And if I can help anybody with that, I am more than happy to. I do want to give you another gift and takeaway. So I invite everybody just to, Rick, you're welcome to mute everybody at the moment. And what I want to do a little, what are you feeling like at the moment? Just be aware of that. And then, so just give everybody a moment here. See what you're feeling. Is there anything going on in your body that you're aware of? Any heaviness? I feel a lot going on with this group within the solar plexus and the sacral area. I feel it up in the throat as well, in the higher heart. I call that as well. There's all sorts of energy I'm picking up on now. So what I'd like to do is do this. Just say out loud with me, and just see what you're feeling. If what I'm experiencing and feeling, if what I'm feeling and experiencing is not mine, return to sender with consciousness attached. If what I'm feeling or experiencing is not mine, return to center with consciousness attached. Take 3 nice deep breaths. Good. Good. All right. Rick, can you unmute everybody for a minute? All right. Now, how does that feel now? Are people feeling a difference? Yeah.
Suzanne?
Yeah. There's a definite shift. And before, when they were doing the centering, which is something I really need because I just found out I have very strong tendencies to autism. And a lot of empaths have that.
So she froze somehow. Everybody froze.
Because I feel like there's this strong energy that's almost like a vertical jet stream. And then also, I actually smell things, like I smell vanilla, and I actually smell colors. And I know there's pink back there for my plant light, but I could smell, or I felt like the energy of unconditional love was around me, which I think is pink.
Susan, I love this, and if I can share, and just for everybody on this to be aware, I'm not allowed to pick up on anything that I cannot share in a group setting. That is a contract, a sacred contract I have set up with my team, so that I know that what I'm picking up on is not going to divulge anything too personal or anything like that. But Susan, if I can share, one of the things that you were describing that is I love how you're so open and connected to the cosmic energies. I would actually label you more like a star. But what happens though?
What was that noise?
Some people are getting feedback. It's hard to open all the mics at once.
So
hold on for a moment, please.
Yeah, if you're
hold on for a moment. Okay, so you're turned on, Todd, and I got Suzanne turned on.
Okay, great. Thank you. What I picked up on is that you're here on this planet anchoring in some of this beautiful energy, but you can't do it as effectively if you're way up there. You've got to work more with the grounding, okay, and connecting in with the goddess energy of the earth itself, okay, as that mother energy, okay. And what's happening is you, Susan, you probably have times where it's difficult to focus, okay, with the energies and wanting to go off. And then, yeah, you live in this world that we all do, and you've got things to do, whether it's...
Well, I do both, Todd. I do both, Todd. I'm all over the place, but when I have a task that's important to me and that's part of that autism, I can focus and I get obsessed by things, and I have super concentration, and I do know how to turn that on and off, but a lot of times it just happens. But a lot of times I am absorbing everything at the same time.
So that word of balance comes back. It's a really strong thing. It's working in both different worlds and knowing how to find that balance on there. Okay. Let's see, Ellie. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. You want to unmute yourself?
Yes, hi Todd. I have a question. Of course, we all have to work on that centering all the time, but there is some energy inside that's really deep and very ancient. How do you get that out in the solar plexus area?
So you're saying within your solar plexus, you're feeling this deep ancient energy.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the solar plex, the elemental energy, is what I'm picking up on, that I believe is what you're actually referring to, is fire. And it's being able to master that chakra, master that element of fire, which is creative, life-giving, and destructive. It's yin yang.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is a potent thing. And what I hear is that you are a master at really like manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
Does that resonate with you? Does that feel right? And being able to work, oh, okay. But you you step back because you're afraid of getting burned a little bit. You get what's the word? You get afraid of how powerful that you may really be, and so then you step back from that center. So the way that I understand it, that solar plex is our seat of intuition, okay, and it's our personal power, and it's also where we feel that gut instinct there. So for you, just balancing, just working on really balancing all your chakras. Now, I need to preface that with chakras have natural rhythms to them. They're not supposed to be open all the time.
Right.
God, no. Okay, there's an ebb and flow. But notice, what can you do to support that center? And how can you use that energy to, to fully express yourself and to own that power and not be afraid that you're going to get burned up by it. Does that make any sense to you there? But you are right. It's an ancient energy. Now, there's also something else with you that comes up, and the word is Kundalini. Are you doing a Kundalini practice or anything? No. Okay. All right. I'm not advocating that either. I know that a lot of people do Kundalini yoga and all that, and that's great. I have great respect for it, but it's a potent thing, and it should only really be done under real masters. And I really don't know that there's that many real masters in the United States. Let's put it that way. I know a number of people have been really damaged.
Yes.
But I feel there's a connection with that ancient Kundalini wisdom. And Kundalini rises from the base of the spine, working its way up. So what I'm picking up now, I said about pieces of the puzzle, I feel like your Kundalini energy may be more so at the solar plexus right now, which is really cool. Okay, I think that's great. I think you've gotten to a point, and that's maybe also part of that ancient energy that you're feeling within, and it's probably more so the second and third chakra. You may be feeling that more so. Okay, does that make sense? Now, are you having digestive issues? Yeah. Okay. There's things I can talk to you about that will help you through that process, because digestive issues, meaning not being able to digest life and what's happening to us, okay, on an emotional level, and to process, so what I want you to do is know how to be nourished from that second and third chakra, to be fed and sustained, and not overwhelmed and feeling like I bit off more than I can chew. Does that make sense there? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Thank you. And yes, we're already at 9. Okay, Rick, you have to keep me on time here.
No, you're fine. You're doing fine. You need your own show because you're so darn good at it, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's not. I want you to do what you want to do, and everybody, I want you to have your time. Let's try to share a few minutes each. If you have a question for Todd, raise your hand and I will unmute you, or go ahead and unmute yourself. Go ahead, Erica, you're on.
Hold on. Just before you speak, let me just go back. That exercise we did was to demonstrate that as an empath, we're constantly picking up energies of other people. I want you to think of yourself as a broadcasting and as a radio receiver. And you can pick up, and you constantly are doing this, we all are, different frequencies and stations. And what our job is now, as our consciousness has expanded, is to be aware. What am I listening to? Oh, I'm listening to a station of lack and poverty. There's not enough. How am I going to survive? Or that station of poor health, or whatever, the station of negativity, whatever it may be. And all it takes is a thought to connect to that channel. So I invite you to be conscious. What are you thinking? Not only yours, but you join mass consciousness. So how did I connect in with you guys? My intention. I said, okay, Source, dial me into the group tonight. I have no clue who's going to be on, but dial me in. Oh, I feel it. Okay, good. What do I need for the group? What do they need?
That's all you got to do. Eric, I don't know what it is. Erica, I've tried 3 times. I cannot get, there you go. Erica, you're on. And then Janice, you will be next. Go ahead, Erica, you're with Todd.
Hi, Todd. I was wondering whether you could tune in to someone that's a friend of ours.
Okay.
And help them. I have a friend who's in hospice with cancer, and she hasn't been able to eat after radiation and chemotherapy, and she's very sensitive to this sort of thing. She's done a lot of work like this herself and studied a lot of it, but she's not getting any nutritional support in hospice or anything like that. And I was wondering if you could tune into somebody other than us.
Yeah, I can. Healing is so interesting because we can never heal anybody. It's really not. We act as a facilitator, to facilitate and try to create the greatest balance within the person on a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual level. That's our job. But it is not our place to judge and to try to heal people. It's so interesting. People, the Bible and that talks about, you know, Jesus and how he healed people, but it doesn't like to refer to the number of times that he couldn't heal people. Okay, because it wasn't their karma. It wasn't what that soul wanted. And your friend, as lovely and sweet as she is making really a decision that this is too much. The energies here are too much. She can't take being here anymore. She just is not able to, she's cut herself off from receiving, whether it's the energy or nutrients, because she wants to check out. Okay. And I mean, you know your friend better than I do, but I can feel that this is somebody, now she did give a lot. Is that not true? She's a very giving person, correct? Okay.
Very giving person, and she put off her life so that she could give to her daughter and give to other people. Yeah. And she was slowly getting into what she really wanted to do, which was acting, screenwriting, healing. And then all of a sudden, boom, her cancer came back. And now I'm afraid that she may not.
Well, Erica, maybe you need to rephrase your question at this point.
Okay, well, that was my question, so you can go on to someone else.
Okay, but I think he answered it. Is sometimes,
yes, you did.
Yeah, that's sometimes the best thing for them.
I know with her though that while she started to get back into, so she gave, all right, she's always had a problem with receiving. And when she moved into that state in her life where she started to do some of the acting and everything, there was like a program, boom, that slapped her back into, I don't deserve that. And she cut herself off from source in a way. And
I'm seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, so it's almost like she's suffering on purpose. And we have to respect that, right, and let her know, give her as much love and let her know that that's her choice and there's no judgment about it. Okay, she'll get an opportunity later.
I'm seeing that everywhere. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Erica. You're up next, Janice. Go ahead.
Hi, Todd.
Hello, Janice.
Janice, come a little closer, please.
I am fairly new to this modality, this Reiki and empathic modality, but I believe there's definitely something there. When we did the centering technique, I felt a little lightheaded and saw a bright light when my eyes were closed. I'm still actually seeing that when I close my eyes. I just recently did a Kundalini / Reiki workshop for 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon. And it was a lot of breathing and movement that I haven't ever really done before. And it shook up things in me that later that evening ended up in my solar plexus and moved to the sacral area. And I knew that, and I was contacting the Reiki Master and telling her what had happened. And I guess she had received several calls from several of the folks that were there with different symptoms after the session. So I'm trying to put all this together and use it in my daily life. And I do recognize the energy as it comes toward me. I didn't know you could size it left, right, front, back, up, down. I can always tell when it's negative, but I'm not so good at putting the shield up before it gets in. But I do clear it every day by lighting the sticks. And I'm really excited about digging deeper into this because I feel that it's there, and I'd like to just find out more about it and get more into it. And see.
I'm a little concerned about you spending 4 hours right off the bat with Kundalini. That's
well,
awful.
It wasn't all. It was more the breathing and the movement. Then there was an entire yoga session that followed that, but it was very erratic circular movements and really intense, deep breathing that I really honestly had never put together and done before. Now I'm a yoga instructor, I am a personal trainer, I'm a fitness instructor, I'm a healer. And I'm now just developing an understanding and sensing that there's the internal connection between myself and my clients, my friends, my family. The circle is just there. And sometimes I feel like I'm not exactly sure how to walk that path. If you know
God, I've been working with Janice a long time, and she has made marvelous progress about the last 5 years. And she has literally closed the door on the world. She has finished her worldly stuff. And she's right at that spot where she's opening everything up. And she's very courageous and ready to go. And what do you see there? But I'm validating what she's saying.
Okay, well, Janice, boy, I don't know where to start. No, it's all great stuff, and I could spend a good hour just talking to you alone. But let me try to hit on some things. So, you mentioned during the one of the exercises feeling lightheaded and seeing light. Okay, the centering exercise itself is going to really bring your fields into proper balance. Okay. I'm not sure if you felt that there or if you felt that change when we disconnected from everybody else, when we did, if what I'm feeling or experiencing is not mine, return to sender. When you feel, and this is for anybody on the call, when you feel lightheaded and you're doing some exercises, some breathing, and you start to feel ungrounded, that's how I feel. When I start to work with energies that make me feel ungrounded and lightheaded, I end up feeling uncomfortable. Okay. And a few years ago, I learned a process actually to open up my energy in bigger. And so, Janice, just to give you an example, if you are feeling lightheaded now, you simply hold the intention and just say to your energy field, okay, my energy is now expanding to fill this room. Take a deep breath. And now it not only fills this room, but it fills my house. Breathe. And as it fills my house, it moves outside and begins to fill and get as large as my community, my town, my state, my country, the planet. And then breathe. And if all of a sudden you no longer feel lightheaded, you're good. If you need to, you expand it bigger. One of the things we do as empaths or as humans is we say, this feels bad, I'm going to shrink up, I'm going to get small. Oh. And what really we want to do is get bigger than our problems, get bigger than the pain, get bigger than that lightheadedness. And the first time I heard this, I thought, that's a bunch of BS. That will never work. Well, I did it and it worked. And then I've taught so many empaths how to do that. They're like, this is opposite of what we're taught. I'm like, I know it is. I know it is. So that will help there. There's some message here, Janice, that though you're becoming more of what you want to attract. I believe you've attracted people that really weren't what you wanted to work with. And that's been problematic. And it's been like trying to pull a jetliner or something, and you just, but now I want you to realize you're in this phase of really defining who you are, what you stand for, and that will attract the right people for you. I want you to slow down a little bit on trying to jump into all these other modalities. I'm a little concerned about as Rick said, about the Kundalini. I'm great with Reiki because you can't do any harm with that one. But a suggestion is, and this is what I use myself, is whenever I have an agreement with God, that God will guide me, because I did not want to be a workshop junkie. And that's what all New Age people were to me, is workshop junkies. Okay. Mm-hmm. They just went from one workshop to another to another. I said, God, I need to be more disciplined. I need something else. So God and I have an agreement that he will only give me a modality or a technique or a process when I need it. Nothing else. That means that I may not take a workshop or two for a year or two. And that's okay. But every time that I need, and God is always giving me something new, because once I get it, God brings it. The people literally start walking through the door, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just learned how to deal with this. And it's like, God's like, yeah, I know. That's why I taught you. So now do it. Okay. So ask that you be taught and guided for what you need so that you don't go into all these other directions. Okay. Gillette got a lot of great energy. A lot of people are waiting for you to work with them. And I will mention here on my website will be coming up. I'm doing a 6-month wellness program instead, where I'm working with people where they will meet with me either in person or most likely through this format like Zoom or a phone call twice a month for whatever specific work they need. They'll also receive a 30-minute phone consultation as well. And this is a 6-month program. And it's something new that I'm getting ready to kick off if people are looking to really move their life forward, because I'm working on so many different levels. It's not healing on the physical. It's really spiritual, mental, emotional, then physical. So you'll get exactly what you need as spirit is able to work through me, so that when we're meeting consistently 2 to 3 times a month in some way, shape, or form, I can't tell you how your life will change with that, and I'll have information. You guys can contact me if you feel guided for that.
Okay, Todd, thank you. I want to move on to other people who ask questions. Thank you very much. Marilyn, thank you for being polite and patient and waiting. And I know you're up next with Todd. Go ahead. Angel, you are next. Susan is next. Susan Avere, and then Angel.
Hey, Todd, I noticed your third eye is a little red.
Oh, is it? I can't tell. It might be. I'm over lights here too, so to me everything looks red. Right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'm interested in achieving coherence.
Okay.
I have been experiencing some dis-ease. And I know I've lifted a lot of story off of me, but there's still some issues where I'm looking at the past that needs to be dissolved. And I'm experiencing some Parkinson's symptoms, especially on the right side of my body.
Okay.
And it's gotten to the point to where I can't function doing mundane tasks on a daily basis. So I'm a little frightened, quite honestly.
What is the question for Todd?
How to achieve coherence.
Okay, Todd.
Let me, I believe I understand what you're saying. So what I'm picking up on, let me reframe this a little bit, is you're feeling that it's difficult to process things through your mind, okay, to organize and to process the thoughts and how things are coming together, okay? Is that correct? Does that make sense?
I'm choosing to put the mind in the back seat and put the soul in the driver's seat.
Okay. I am picking up a program, and a program is, there's many different type. You've got an identification program, which is a belief that you've picked up from an imprint that you've picked up around most likely ancestral energies.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And we take those on, and what's so funny is, truth be told, let me ask you this. Are you taking this on to heal ancestral energies? Truth be told.
I probably have subconsciously
on a soul level. Yeah. And so you've taken that on, and it's not necessary. Many of us will take on ancestral energies. We'll clean up our own stuff. And then we agree, hey, I did that. I can go ahead and take on the rest. So one of the ones that I commonly see is that around financial prosperity. And I've worked with clients, and they get themselves abundant, and then all of a sudden, years later, boom, they have this issue, and they're like, I don't know where this came from. I said, and I look, and I'm like, it's not yours, but you did great to go ahead and lift your soul family, your ancestors up, So this is how we can go about it. And it's not as bad as it was for the individual to first go through. But I want you to be aware there's some programming. We can actually clear that. I can't do that on here, okay? But you and I can connect and go through and do that. But I also want you to be aware that you don't have to take them on. There was a programming in my family that everybody has problems in their right knee. Okay, and everybody in my family, except for me, has that. Okay, and I was about 40 at the time, and I was having some problems in my right knee, and I'd go to kneel, and I'd have pain, and I went to the doctor to diagnose it, and he says, "Oh, you got arthritis," and I said, "Arthritis? I'm too young for arthritis." He said, "Children get arthritis." I said, "Not me." He said, "Not me." Well, I didn't know better because nobody gave me a rule, so I healed myself. I did Reiki and everything. Well, wouldn't you know, about a couple years later, I didn't know this about my family, but everybody, I became aware, and my family, my extended family said, "Oh yeah, everybody, male and female, all have problems in the right knee. We all have to have surgery." And I left. I realized I was just picking that up, but I cleared it. And I used Reiki to do it, actually. I cleared that, okay? Because I wasn't attached to that belief. And I watch it. I still watch it. You know, my mom's got it. I've got an aunt who's the baby in the family. She has to be in a walker, and she must be only 65. And I'm like, this is somebody who went to get her education in gym, to be a gym. She was a tomboy. She was the most active person, and I see her now overweight, and I'm like, oh, this just breaks my heart, you know, because it's not necessary, but it's choice.
It's so funny that you mentioned the knee, because I have been putting some cream on my knee while we were talking this evening, and I have a right kney issue this evening.
What's happening is the knee, all parts of the body hold programming for us. The computers are designed in our image. That's what Spirit told me off the bat years ago. It blew my mind because I couldn't figure out why. But I asked my team in Spirit, why are we using computer terms? And they're like, I said, why, are we like computers? And they said, no, computers were designed in your image. And I'm like, what? You know, but all organs, glands, and systems hold programming that are not able to be processed. So we all know, you know, the liver and everything around anger and things like this, Louise Hay's work. I loved it because I believed what Louise Hay said, but I didn't have the validity for my belief until she wrote that book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody's doing what I believe. That's amazing. So in the knee represents stubbornness, inflexibility, and resistance.
Yes, it does.
All right. And those are not negative things. You just have to see that those energies are very predominant. And what can you do to shift that and to move forward into ease in that? And because you're attracting more of that, there's also some intestinal things that are going on with you as well. But we can address those in private and things. But I want you to know that this is not something that you have to hold on to, that you can actually change. And it's really a change in belief and consciousness. And that's what I'll work with you. We can do some things to support the body.
Okay, Todd. Thank you there. Thank you, Mary. I'm going to move on.
Thank you.
Suzanne Avera has been waiting for a question. Suzanne, you are with Todd.
Thank you, Todd, for talking with us this evening. I have a little bit of experience with Reiki and also with the different modality, learned through Tom Kratzley and Fellowships of the Spirit in Lilydale, if you're familiar with spiritual healing from him. My question is about healing cancer, and I get what you said, that you don't do the healing yourself, that it's all divinely guided and directed. A few years ago, I was brought in to work on this gentleman whose issue was cancer. And when I tried to work in the usual way, the energy went in only up to a point, and then it built up and it rolled back and it smacked me. And I've never had that experience before. Somebody told me later that it's because cancer is a living thing and you can't address it the same way. So my question to you is, how do you approach that issue?
Okay, I love your question and your example. I want to speak on that. First and foremost, all disease or illnesses or whatever are a message. It's a matter of helping that person understand what is the message, what is the blessing and the lesson that it came to bring them. So often we talk that cancer is really anger turned inward. Okay. In some extent, to some extent, I agree with the person about cancer being a living energy, but all disease is a living energy. Okay. What happened is that you were trying to heal and correct something in a way, and the energy's like, no, he doesn't get it, and we're not leaving. You do all you want, but we're not leaving because he doesn't have the message. What we do is facilitate and go in and cancer. What is going on here? What is this person? Okay, so you're tied to the energies of anger, self-hatred, bitterness, and resentment. What can we do to move through this so that you don't have to be here? You know, what do you want to teach this person? Okay, and it's probably forgiveness. Look into that person. If they're a person that has struggled because they hurt so deeply, and if you're an empathic, you hurt deeply. Like I say that I'm more like a woman because I remember when you hurt me 15 years ago, just like it hurt right this moment. And that's what they say. Women tend to feel that. Most men don't, but I do. And forgiveness, I thought, was more lesson than anything. But I think balance is more so. But so that's what you want to go into. What is the blessing? Don't look at it as a fight. I'm going to fight this. You're wrong. This person manifested. I'll tell you another thing is that person didn't want to let go of their bitterness, their anger. I mean, that was their badge. If I don't hold on to this, somebody else will do it to me again. So I'm going to hold on to this. And that's why we can't interfere with that. Does that answer your question there?
Very much so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan. We're going to move on to Angel. Are you around? You are next, Angel. You are on with Todd. Go ahead.
I want to thank him, and I don't have any specific questions. I just wanted to listen to what he had to pick up from my aura at a distance or whatever he's picking up, but I don't have any specific question.
Okay. All right. So, Angel, you come from a long line of healers in your family. Is that true?
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I just feel very old traditional foundation stuff. There's yet a I'm gonna use the word disconnect though. It's not quite the right word. Maybe it's more about not fully stepping in and embracing or feeling like you own your ancestral energy as a healer, the wisdom. There's a lot of depth and knowledge to that. And you are a messenger. They just said, look at his name. Okay, angels are God's messengers. Okay, so maybe even the work what you may be doing is more in line about being the messenger for people in the healing. Because I will share with you, it's funny because if somebody ever told me I do what we're doing tonight, and psychically in tune, I'd say you're crazy. I'm a healer. I don't read people. I don't read them. I don't want to be responsible for what happens.
You're doing it.
Yeah, and people said to me, because I was actually back in 1990, I was the first healer to work at psychic festivals in Rochester, New York. Back then, you had readers and vendors. Nobody did healing work. And I took my Reiki, I got certified in May, and by that July I had a Reiki table, and I set up doing Reiki sessions, and I had my dowsing rods. Cameras would flood in on me like, what is this guy? What is he doing? He's not reading, he's not selling things, but I was healing. And the readers were like, what do you think you're doing when you're talking to them? I'm like, I don't do readings. Well, I was resistant to that. And I feel like what I realize is that I now am more fully rounded, where what I do doesn't impress me at all anymore. You know, I want to teach everybody to do that and greater, but you have a lot more. And what is your message? And I think that what it is you being that conduit for when you're with people, whether you are intentionally laying hands on them or you're healing them through their words. That's why I work with people. I love working with people virtually like this, because I don't need to sit with them and touch their body. I love that. That's great. But I love when I'm working with somebody in Canada, somebody in California, and they're healed. They feel it. They don't know. I'm on a program called All Business Media every Wednesday at 1:30. I've got sponsors. I mean, that was something I'd never imagined, somebody paying for me to be on the radio. But people are like, how can you heal on the radio? It's like, oh, it's easy, you know. But people feel the difference. So you, as a messenger for God, be there, be the message, feel what's coming in, embrace that. Does that make any sense to you? Is that relevant to where you are in your life?
Yes, very relevant, extremely relevant.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Todd, I'm going to ask you. I hardly ever ask about myself, but I'm having a lot of difficulty for a long time with the left hip, and I know what Louise Hay says. Left hip is really debilitating me, very limiting me.
Okay, but yeah, I feel there's more towards the lower back and the root. There's some stuff going on there. And I will say that the energies I'm picking up on are more foundational. Foundational and related to the root chakra. Okay. There's some things that are not where you would like them to be in your life, feeling stable and feeling lopsided is what I'm picking up on. So, okay. So the left hip is the feminine energy. This is more about nurturing and taking the time to receive and heal yourself. Yes. Whether that is some things about chiropractic adjustment or massage or different forms of movement. Rick, are you doing any yoga?
No, but I'm about to start to, and I'm working with a wonderful physical therapist who helps a lot, but it's just not, it's being stubborn. It won't go away. But I'm very interested in getting into yoga, yes.
Okay. One of the things that's blocking you in that is that you are used to being that the healer, the helper, the expert, and instead this has to be about being the receiver. Okay, not having to be on, so to speak, but about what can I take. So this is the question. This is for everybody. I'm a big believer. Want to change your life? Start asking questions. Don't look for an answer. Ask a question. So Rick, I would say ask this question. Say, okay, body, hip, what is this all about? How can I support you, body? How can I heal or support you and nurture you? Let it go. You ask that question and say, get up the next door. Good morning, body. How can I support you and heal you?
Okay, very good. That's a great idea.
The universe, because you put that energy out, the universe must find like energy to bring it back to you. You'll get your answer.
Thank you very much. That's a great answer. One thing before we go, and I've worked with you so much, and you're not seeing any of it tonight. Do you have any of your pendulum charts there?
Oh.
Everybody, Todd has 10, 20 pages of pendulum charts.
Oh, I've got like 40 or 50.
Well,
actually.
whatever you want to talk about, whether it's who's connected to you, what part of your body, what percentage. Could you show them an example of what those pages look like? And in general, just in general, talk about, because he uses them and his pendulum dances around like an intelligent flea. I tell you, it's unbelievable.
Right, so
There's his different examples of his pages.
I don't know if this will show up very well. But
Yeah, we get the idea.
This is a contact sheet as far as who I'm working with. And in the very center, it's divided left and right. And what I do is when I start to connect, I do a connecting prayer. And it goes this: the Father and I are one. We are co-creators. I am, I am, I am. And I repeat that 3 times. And then I ask to see who I'm working with. And the pendulum should always go to the left and should go to working with higher self. Now, if I don't do that statement, most of the times it will show I'm working with the angelic realm, the guardian angel, okay? But I use a starting point, and then once I've got permission and I know that the person I'm working with is cleared, then I'll use this chart to kind of guide me to the other charts. What do we need to address as far as one's energy? What I do with people is I use my pendulum, and then I do kinesiology or muscle testing to see what are programs, what are somebody's frequencies to take in units of light, which is their spiritual frequency, and entities. How many entities does one have that is interfering with them? I will tell you, I bet every single one of you, unless I've worked with you, Karen Shanahan's on. Karen's was, but I think, Karen, I bet your fields are fractured too, and Karen may be able to tell that. But a lot of people's fields, energy fields, are fractured and they're leaking energy. And that causes a situation where we become vulnerable to what I refer to as entities, which are 4th dimensional parasitic energies that try to feed off and do feed off of our personal energy. Especially if you're an empathic, they're going to look at you like a juicy steak, and they want to keep you focused in pain or frustration or that belief that you're not good enough, okay, to feed off of it. So I work with, I use different means. Basically, I go through clearing that energy. Rick asked me, who do I work with? Rick, I couldn't tell you exactly. I know that I'm very connected with Archangel Michael because I am a light worker. I agreed to come in. I am a 2nd round soul, meaning that I have ascended at least one time. Believe it or not, I agreed to come back and do this again. I don't know why, but if I don't get it right this time, I don't get to go back into the Ascension Club, but I think I'm doing good. I work with people that are looking for ascension. That is one of the things that I work with, is a lot of ascension, 5th dimensional energies. I'm very tuned into the angel world. People will say Doreen Virtue has identified me as an earth angel. I am an angel that has chosen to incarnate as a human being because I felt I could actually help more by walking that path, knowing what it felt like. Angels do not know how it feels like to be human. Your spiritual guide does. Angels don't. They're steeped in unconditional love, and they are messengers. So I agreed to step down, so to speak, and come into the Dharma and the drama and all the trauma and stuff. But I have a very strong connection to them, and that's how I do a lot.
Do you guys get any sense of how hard a Virgo works? He has just not stopped working.
This is not hard. This is fun.
And I know, but it is fun for Virgos. He's gone to work, he's going to fix everything he can, and just pound it out. And it's just a marvelous thing to watch you. You are an incredible healer. And the one thing I've been trying to influence you about in the last couple of years is not Virgo's nature. Virgos like to deal one-on-one in a smaller level. But you're so talented. And the world's in so much trouble. We need you up high teaching the teachers. We need you teaching the teachers. you're welcome back here anytime, Todd. It's been a wonderful thing. And to let you know, Todd and I think we picked this date months ago. We didn't pick this date. The planets knew exactly what they're doing to put him on here. But I'm going to bring it to an end now, and you're still being recorded on YouTube. This will be uploaded on my channel tomorrow on YouTube. We want to thank you very much, Todd. Thank everybody for tuning in. But I really encourage you, Todd, whatever they're doing. I know we talked about this. You getting your own show and you doing more and more. You're ready to go, man. Plug it in and just go.
Well, thank you all so much. Bless you.
Thank you for being with us. I've shown everybody your link. Good night, everybody. Thanks so much, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rick.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rick.
You're all welcome.